Welcome to Hood War Stories. In this episode, I'll be discussing the war between South Los 13 and the Hoovers and Gardena 13. South Los 13 is a Mexican-American gang located in South Central Los Angeles. They originated in the 1970s. They claim territory along Imperial Highway and are one of the few gangs to have turf on both sides of the 110 freeway. They share parts of their turf west of the freeway with the Devil Lane Bloods, and share parts east of the freeway with the Broadway gangs, the Crips. South Los used to have a larger presence on the east side, as many of their members attended Locke High School. But these days, they seem to be concentrated from Imperial Highway to 120th Street, between Normandy and Fig, with 117th and Vermont being one of their main blocks. They have a long list of enemies, but historically their biggest rivals are Gardena 13, 18th Street, and the Hoovers. The 11 Deuce Hoovers, also known as the Lelos, are a Black American gang located on the west side of South Central Los Angeles. They originated in the mid-70s. Their territory is from 110th to Imperial Highway between Normandy and Van Buren. The blocks east of Van Buren used to be claimed by the 11 Deuce Hoovers, but that area has since been overtaken by the Pimptown gangs, the Crips. They are allies with the rest of the Hoover criminals, especially the 107 Hoovers, also known as the Salos, who are located directly above them. They are bitter rivals with the Rolling Hundreds, Raymond Avenue Crips, Devil Lanes, and South Los 13. During the mid-80s, the 11 Deuce Hoovers and South Los used to be on decent terms. Their territories were in very close proximity, so many of the older members would attend the same schools. They would even occasionally hang out. During the mid to late 80s, members from South Los started tripping about the Hoovers selling drugs in their territory. Friction and tension built up between the two sets. After-school fights and brawls reportedly happened every other day. A few South Los members would begin to enter 11 Deuce turf and proceed to antagonize the Hoovers. Allegedly, a South Los member named Bugsy would roll his wheelchair in 11 Deuce territory and stare down the Hoovers while starting shit. Before the Hoovers and South Los war kicked off, the 11 Deuces were already heavily beefing with the Devil Lanes, the Hundreds, and the Raymonds, who were reportedly doing damage to them at the time. This set up South Los for the perfect opportunity to strike. In 1989, a few 11 Deuce Hoovers were shooting dice with a member of South Los named Lil Man. Reportedly, Lil Man got upset that he lost and robbed the game. He then allegedly pulled out a gun and opened fire. Two Hoovers were struck in the head by bullets. They both died instantly. Tension between the two sets was at a new high at this point. One day in 1990, Buzzy from South Los rolled through the 11 Deuce territory in his wheelchair, talking shit again. But this time, the Hoovers gave no passes and opened fire on Buzzy. Buzzy was left for dead in the street. Buzzy's death was the official kickoff to the Hoover South Los war. After his death, South Los 13 applied major pressure and constant retaliation. At this time, South Los 13 was probably the deepest they've ever been, and the 11 Deuces were in a vulnerable state due to previous beefs and key members getting locked up. South Los 13 was reportedly pressing a hard line on 11 Deuce Hoovers. Daily shootings and murders, allegedly sending groups that jumped them in traffic and boldly hanging out in their territory. During this same time, the Devil Lanes were also applying heavy pressure. By the mid-90s, South Los 13 gained ground on the 11 Deuces and began pushing them out of their original territory, starting with the southern part of the 11 Deuce turf. By the late 90s, the 11 Deuces started sharing their neighborhood with the 107 Hoovers and began hanging out there more than their own neighborhood. Around this time, Lil Man from South Los was killed in retaliation for initiating the beef. This took the war to new heights. Between the early and mid-thousands, South Los 13 began to view the 11 Deuces as a non-threat. But the 107 Hoovers, also known as the Salos, began to put in major work on South Los 13 and became the major factor in the beef. Dozens of shootings and murders would occur on both sides during this period. In the late thousands, the Salos and 18th Street clicked up to take on South Los 13, as well as the Devil Lanes. The Devil Lanes held up, but this double team took a major toll on South Los. Reportedly, the 9-4 Hoovers also got involved and began to do damage on South Los as well. On August 21st, 2013, the Hoovers slid on South Los and left a member in critical condition. A day later, on the night of August 22nd, 2013, Sergio from South Los borrowed a white SUV and drove into Hoover territory. Brianna and her boyfriend Carlos, who was also from South Los, followed Sergio in a silver car that was driven by Brianna. At approximately 10 p.m., several Black Americans were chilling with their neighbors outside an apartment near Colden and Vermont Avenue. The group outside included Latasha, Trevor, and Maceo. Maceo then saw an SUV pull up abruptly, and armed with a gun reached out the passenger window. Maceo heard a shot and turned to run, but the bullet grazed his head. Trevor jumped off the gate and tried to run, but he was hit in the back and suffered a fatal wound. Latasha ducked to the ground until the shot stopped. When she looked up, she saw a white SUV driving away. Sergio then took the SUV and dropped it off at a liquor store parking lot. He then got into Brianna's car and they left the scene. Later that night, LA Sheriff deputies located the unoccupied SUV in the liquor store parking lot. The deputies observed the SUV's owner, Naomi, and a male companion get into the vehicle. Naomi and the man were detained. Down at the station, Naomi told police that she borrowed the car to Sergio. On September 11, 2013, a team of LAPD officers went to Imperial Highway to conduct surveillance on Sergio. Sergio was spotted walking to a bus stop near a gas station. When the officers pulled up, Sergio made a run for it. An officer observed Sergio running with a stainless steel semi-automatic handgun. At some point during the chase, Sergio turned into a driveway and became cornered. An officer drew his pistol and told Sergio to drop the weapon. Sergio threw the gun he was holding over a fence and assumed a fighting stance with his fist raised in front of his chest. Sergio was eventually tackled by several officers while ignoring the officer's command to stop resisting. During the police interview, Sergio told them that he was at a Dodger game at the time of the shooting. A month or two before his arrest, Sergio was at a liquor store with another South Los member. A car stopped in front of the liquor store and 3 black males got out shouting, "Fuck South Los, nigga, this West Side over." Sergio and his friend became involved in a physical altercation with the 3 males until the police arrived and arrested Sergio. Brianna, who drove the silver car, ended up testifying against Sergio. Sergio was ultimately convicted of first-degree murder and resisting an executive officer. He was sentenced to 210 years in prison. By the mid to late 2010s, South Los became a non-factor, and the Salos began focusing on bigger threats like the Honeys and the Devil Lanes. Allegedly, South Los was taking on too many beefs and took major losses that they couldn't recover from. Another factor that contributed to South Los crumbling was Gardena 13. Gardena 13, also known as Gardena Trece, is a Mexican-American gang located in Gardena, California. Their territory stretches from 135th Street to 190th Street, between Crenshaw and Main Street. Gardena 13 and South Los have been beefing since the early 1970s. On the night of August 10th, 2008, approximately 300 to 500 people gathered for a car show at the intersection of Western and Imperial. 3 members of South Los showed up: Jose, his brother Victor, and Vital. All 3 were loudly proclaiming their gang affiliation and criticizing the multiracial makeup of the crowd. Soon thereafter, someone fired a hail of bullets at the compact area where all 3 of the South Los members were standing. Jose was pronounced dead at the scene. Victor and Vital were taken to the Harbor Medical Center, where Victor was pronounced dead. Vital died from his injuries the following day. A 4th man was also struck by gunfire. He was able to make a full recovery. Witnesses told deputies that they saw a gunman fleeing in a dark-colored vehicle. The suspect wasn't arrested until 3 years later, when authorities conducted a gang sweep on Gardena Trece. Luis was ultimately convicted of the triple homicide. He was sentenced to 75 years to life, without the possibility of parole. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.